So, let's start with a big question. Is it possible to find meaning in life? I mean, real meaning, when it feels like everything is falling apart? Well, today, we're going to dive into the incredible work of a man who didn't just think about that question, he lived it, and he answered it with a powerful yes from inside the darkest chapter of human history.
Just let that sink in for a second. This single sentence, it's pretty much the heart of everything we're talking about today. This was the core discovery of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who realized that our ultimate freedom, our real freedom, isn't something someone can give you or take away. Nope. It's something we carry inside of us, always. So who was this man, Viktor Frankl? Well, before he became this icon of human resilience, he was a very successful Viennese neurologist and psychiatrist. He was already developing these big ideas about life's meaning, but he had no idea that those ideas were about to face the ultimate test, a test you can't even imagine.
And that test, it came in the crucible of the Holocaust. Frankl, who was Jewish, was imprisoned with his family in Nazi concentration camps, places like Auschwitz. In this unimaginable horror, it became his laboratory. It was the place where his theories weren't just ideas anymore. They were forged in the fire of real, everyday life and death.
Inside those camps, he started noticing something truly extraordinary. He saw that survival didn't automatically go to the people who were the strongest or the most physically fit. Time and time again, he observed that the ones who made it through were the ones who had a reason to live, a sense of purpose that literally pulled them through the daily nightmare. So what did this purpose actually look like in a place like that? You might be surprised. It wasn't always some huge, heroic mission. Sometimes it was the simple, desperate hope of seeing a loved one again. Other times, it was the defiant act of finding beauty in a sunset, even through barbed wire. And for Frankl himself, his purpose became the goal of one day lecturing on the very psychology he was observing, to turn all that suffering into understanding. And all of this, all these powerful observations, they bring us right to the core of his philosophy, which he called logotherapy. This is where he takes everything he learned from that experience and transforms it into a theory that can honestly help every single one of us. Logotherapy is built on a simple but totally revolutionary idea. Frankl said that at our core, what truly drives us as human beings isn't the pursuit of happiness or pleasure. It's the search for meaning. He argued that our deepest, most fundamental need is to feel that our lives, and even our struggles, have a purpose. So what happens when that drive for meaning gets blocked? Frankl had a name for that too. The existential vacuum. It's that feeling of emptiness, of aimlessness, maybe even boredom, that "is this all there is" feeling? You know, you see it in burnout or just endlessly scrolling through social media. And Frankl saw this as the central psychological challenge of the modern world. This chart really shows you just how different his thinking was. You had Freud, right, who said we're driven by a will to pleasure. His contemporary, Adler, said it's a will to power. But Frankl came along and proposed this radical third way, that our most basic motivation, the one that underpins everything, is a deep-seated will to meaning. Okay, so if we're all driven by this search for meaning, the obvious next question is, how do we find it? This is where Frankl's work becomes incredibly practical. He didn't just diagnose the problem, he actually offered a clear blueprint for the solution. Frankl laid out three main avenues for finding meaning. The first is through creation, what we contribute to the world, our work, our deeds. The second is through experience, finding value in nature, in art, or in the love we feel for another person. And then there's the third path, and this is the one that sets him apart from almost everyone else. That third path is his most radical and, most challenging idea. It asks the tough question, what do you do when you face suffering you can't escape? When you absolutely cannot change your situation, what's left? Here's his incredible answer. Frankl believed that when suffering is unavoidable, it becomes a challenge. It stops being just suffering and can become an achievement. It's an opportunity to choose our attitude, to show what we're capable of, and to find meaning, not in spite of the pain, but through our response to it.
So let's bring all this together. Let's look at why Frankl's message is just as powerful, maybe even more powerful today as it was when he first wrote it. His legacy is really one of radical empowerment and human potential. He fundamentally rejected the idea that we're just helpless products of our biology or our environment. Instead, he saw human beings as creatures defined by our choices and our responsibilities. He believed we are each responsible for finding our unique meaning and then living it out. And that brings us to his ultimate challenge.
He flips the script on the whole thing. Instead of us asking, what is the meaning of my life, he suggests that life is asking us that question every single day. And our answer isn't something we say, it's something we live. It's in the choices we make. So the question he leaves for all of us is a powerful one. How will you answer?